Okay, so here we go. Going to have to install the piston. So in order to do so, first off would be to go along with this this plan that I had, which tells in the order that they're gonna go. So these are the old pistons. So this one was in the that was piston 1. So I'm gonna need this connecting rod, which is the one of piston 1. Then I'm gonna have to fit on it the piston 3 that's gonna go in cylinder 1. This is the new piston because the pistons are oversized, as said in previous videos. So you also gotta make sure of what's your setup as for what is the bearing fit. I have explained that in one of the videos, so make sure you go along following that plan. So in my case, these are the old bolts. These bolts gonna have to be replaced when we're gonna do the final installation. So at this moment it's not needed. I'm gonna need to use the old bolts to check the gap using the plastic gauge. Okay, so need to remove that bearing here. Okay, for the step of checking the gap, we have to clean this very thoroughly, so I'm going to use brake cleaner. Also going to clean this, I'll make sure this is pretty clean. So I'm going to clean this surface here. There's a different coat for the upper bearing than it is for the lower bearing. Also, you want to make sure that there is no bear on that surface here. Sometime I had one bearing. This is not a bear, this is a notch. Okay, so the notch goes where you got this notch also as well. So you want to install them by putting it right there and then gently push it in place. So if it's not, sometimes you got, like in this case, this lower end is a bit further out there than this one higher, so you just gently push it, try to push it so it's about even on both sides. So that's good. As you can see, this is a yellow one. It's a bit hard to see, but the color there is yellow. So yellow is going on top, and the bottom one is, I think it's red. I'm gonna confirm that. So yes, confirm that the bottom one is red. So same process. We're gonna remove this one from the cap. The notch side goes with the notch side. Oh, there's a little groove here. I don't know if you can see it. It's not much, but crank is pretty good looking, so that might have been the bearing that took the damage from that little groove there. Some more brake cleaner. Cleaning this properly. The idea is that we're looking for the gap, so we want to make sure there is nothing in between. But obviously, since it's going to be very dry, you don't turn the crank if these two parts are put together. As you can see, we put it now the red in there. Yeah, check for the burr. No burr, that's fine. Okay, so notch goes with the notch. So these goes together this way. That's interesting because this notch here is hard to see, it's inside. As the previous one, you can clearly see the notch. I'm not concerned because these are coming from the dealer, sorry. So I know they're reliable. Now I'm gonna remove the actual piston, the old piston. So if we pay attention, it's a bit hard to see, but the snap ring that goes in there, the beginning is right here, high above. Okay, and it is like that on both sides. So the ring opening goes on top of the piston. So this is the way we're gonna have to put them back together. So we just need to remove one of those. Doesn't really matter which one. So I think this one suits me good. So in order to do something like that, I'm gonna use this pick, just like I did with the brand new pistons on the other video. Wear goggles, safety goggles, because this thing is popping crazy. Oh, it's a bit harder when there's actually a pin in there. I use a hook like that. So there it goes. We just need to remove one of those. Push the pin out. The old pin's gotta get out. It's gonna stay with the old piston. There's no way we're gonna use that. There's new pins coming with the new piston. I'm just gonna slide it back in. Okay, so the idea is now is that we need to find out. Okay, the beginning of the ring is where it's orange color. Okay, that is important to know. Then you have to somehow not put all the opening of the rings in the same place, otherwise it's gonna leak and it's not gonna be very good. So what you want to do is you want to do maybe also you got to be careful not to put your end of a ring close to that notch there. See the notches underneath? There's 4 of those, so we want to make sure it's not in line with that. So that goes on top, so I'm gonna insert that one maybe like 180 degree from the other one, roughly. Right now it's not 180 degrees, so I'm going to remove the gloves. It's going to work better without the gloves. So what we want to do is we want to have the opening. Oh, let me get that. It's not at the right spot. So now it's at the right place. Now it's just a matter of rotating one in between, one in relation with the other. So you see the opening is right here. That's the opening of the ring, and it's side by side with the orange one. We don't want that, so I'm going to rotate it. So the zigzag top end of ring is here, and the other one, the bottom one, is here, right? So that's about 180. That's fine. So now let's insert the top ring for the completing the oil ring. So now we know that the end of it's got to be about here. So let's make it easier and align it right away. So that's here. Here is the end of the top ring. Here is the end of the bottom ring. Maybe I can spread it apart a bit more. Like that. So a hand here, and here, and the orange is here. So I'm gonna move the orange a bit. The orange is here, so it's not quite good. I'm gonna move the orange slightly. That's pretty good, I think. So maybe this one needs to be moved just a little. Okay, so orange on top, and then one here and one here. Where's my thumb? So I think it's very perfect. Yeah, that's pretty good. So now it's a matter of making sure that it's not in line with the bottom grooves. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the bottom one, which is more inclined to be affected by this opening. I'm gonna put it here, so the bottom groove is right here, away from those. Okay, now it's time to insert the second compression ring. You insert the back end. It's gonna help to guide it. Okay, and then we do the other the top one. Make sure, yeah, top is written on it. Okay, also these rings obviously cannot be in line, so we're gonna try to move them apart. I'm gonna check where is the opening on the other one. Okay, so the opening on the top compression ring is here, so I'm gonna try to put maybe the opening somewhere. The opening is here on the top oil ring, so I'm gonna put the opening of this one about here, and the first compression ring, gonna put it about here. But that's gonna move for now, but this is how I'm gonna set them prior to put them inside. Now we gotta check the axial play of the ring within its groove, and it's supposed to be, what I found, again, double check your own spec on your side, but what I found is it should be in between 0.02 millimeter up to 0.06 millimeter for both of them. I don't have that kind of filler gauge, so it's alright. I'm gonna check with this one here. That one might go through. This one should not go through the 0.76, so 0.76. I cannot put it in. And the other one, .038. That's not going as well. So that neither of those I'm able to insert. Yep, it's not going in. So I don't want to force it in. There's no need for that. If it's not press fit, like the rings are clearly able to move around, so I would consider that this is good enough, and it's not too loose, so I think it's just fine. They're a bit hard to put back in place. Okay, so now this arrow's got the arrow on top. It's got to point toward the pulley side. So that means it's going to go like that on my engine. And the notch has got to go on the intake side. So intake side is going to be that side here. So what we have to do now is we have to put oil on the pin. Well, it's a matter of holding the pin very well. Once this is done, Make sure again the notch is on the intake side. Put the connecting rod in, slide the pin. Should go in smoothly. Okay, so this is how it goes. Now it's going to be a matter of try to insert the other pin on that end, which is a bit of a challenge, I gotta say. Best way I found to do it is piston upside down. And then you put the ring just like it's gonna fit. You insert the top part and you try to squeeze in the bottom part. There it is. Make sure it's all the way in. Careful not to slip and then bind on your fingers. You can make a pretty hole in there with a screwdriver. Yep, that's in. So the new piston is now assembled. So we're gonna have to insert it in the cylinder, and then we're gonna have to check the gap between the bearings of the connecting rod and the crankshaft. So that's what's gonna happen next. So in order to do so, I'm gonna turn the crankshaft a little. The only thing that's got to be taken care of is that the chain. Right now I didn't put, there's a screw that goes in there. Oh, let me show you. So here, that hole, if you tilt it a little, there's a hole, there's a bolt that goes in there to hold this in place. I didn't put it yet, I don't feel the need for that, but when I'm gonna turn the crank, there's no need to be fussy about the direction right now. But I just want to hold it slightly up so that the chain is not gonna grind this aluminum surface right there. So I just want to turn it to raise the journal of cylinder number 1 so it's higher, just like cylinder 2 is right now. So then I'm gonna be able to clean it thoroughly, and this is the position I'm gonna be in when I'm gonna check for the gap with the plastic gauge. Okay, so change of plan. I think I'm gonna put the bolt right away, because when I try to turn, the sprockets are not turning. The oil pump sprocket and the vacuum pump sprocket, they're because of the tension in the chain, they're held against the back plate, and it's not turning very well, and it's planned to grind the back plate, which I don't want to do. So that is the old bolt that was holding the back plate in place. Putting the bolt on the socket seems to be maybe easier. And then you slide it on. So using the hole of the vacuum pump is very useful to do so. So here we go. So it's a success. The bolt is in place. It's not torqued at all, so I cannot miss it. Gonna leave a note also not to forget about it. So accessing through this hole here, accessing here, going with your finger up there is the best way to try to help yourself so you can reach inside as you do so. This chain guide here at the bottom is the one that you would like to you can pull with your finger or something to give some loose. This problem is these sprockets here, they sit in the back plate, and this one does the same here, eye above, right here. So if you try to turn the chain, the sprockets are grinding against this, and it's not turning very well when you try to turn the crankshaft. So giving some slack in the chain might help. Okay, so I kept this vacuum pump sprocket in place. I just removed this one up there, let the chain sit on the little tab there. So when I turn it, I hold the chain with a finger and gently rotate the crankshaft as needed. So in the end we got it, and the crankshaft cylinder 1 is high above, which is because the engine is upside down, which is the lowest you can get. So now time to clean, because you can see there's a bit of it's a bit hard to see, but there's a bit of dust mixed with a bit of oil. So I'm gonna clean this thoroughly with brake cleaner. I'm not gonna shoot brake cleaner on it, because I don't want brake cleaner to go down the hole down to the main bearings. The main bearings are oiled, and this is what I want because I'm turning the crankshaft. Okay, once cleaning, you want to make sure there is no little dust from the rag as well. You try to make it very, very clean. So time to put some oil in there. Again, be careful the little hose at the bottom. Be careful your finger, the little holes hurt. Now time to insert the piston down there. Okay, so now we're about to insert the piston. So we got to make sure that the arrow is pointing toward the pulley side, and that the notch here is on the intake side, which is the case. I'm on the intake side now. So what I have to do now is we're gonna need to use one of these. We need to compress the rings so that we can insert the piston inside the cylinder. So that's an adjustable thing. I'm gonna give it some more. I'm gonna reduce the size of it because it's a bit too big. Yeah, some more. Okay, that's about it. Okay, so that thing's gonna need to be oiled as well. So we're gonna put some oil in there. Okay, and it's a matter of making sure that the rings are placed with about 180 degrees in between each other, because this is the final check for the ring position. By experience on this one, it's better to use the two straps or the things holding it, so the straps has to be on the downside. So let's check for the ring. Piston's gonna go like that because of the arrow. Okay. So the oil ring, the top of the oil ring gap or opening is on that end. We can see that the second ring here is on the here. So it's about 180 degree, which is not so bad. And this one here I can put 180 degree with the other one. So that's about it. That seems to be good enough. When you set your piston in the ring compressor, first off, it's good to have the lower band close to the lower part where it's gonna be inserted. And the second thing is you don't need to have the piston fully in. You need that skirt to help align the piston in. So that's the best way to do that thing. And then it's a matter of just putting it the right way for setting it in. Arrow, notch, good. So you can see the skirt of the piston is now out. That's gonna help us to align it properly. You gotta also be careful the rotation angle, because you don't want to damage the little hose at the bottom. So you want to align that thing just right. Okay, so we're gonna go gentle with it. Now we're going to torque it some more. Okay, and I'm going to go check underneath to make sure that I'm lining up with the crank and I'm not in line for banging the hose. You really want to make sure that you're not going to bang the little hose. It's the critical step for that. And then you turn it slightly. It's going to be easy to turn to line it up if it's not properly aligned. Then you need to hold that thing down as you knock it, so it's going to pass the rings. Success. Now we're gonna flip it to make sure everything's fine underneath. Gotta go easy because the connecting rod might knock a bit since it's not fully in. Oops. So I just lift it up by hand. That's good enough. Okay, so now it's going to be time for putting plastic gauge. Put the cap, torque it, the first step, then remove the cap, check how good it is. If it's good, then we're gonna clean with brake cleaner, put oil, put the new bolts, torque final. Now the bolts I'm gonna put are the old bolts. So it's the same plastic gauge we use for the block. Again, make sure you don't put the plastic gauge where this one is a bit too long. I'm gonna cut it. Make sure you don't put it where there's a hole, like the the lubrication hole, because then it kind of stays stuck in between, and it's not something you look forward to. So you just take it and just cut another little bit of it. That's going garbage. So you put your plastic gauge on top, just like that. Okay, and then you take the cap. Remember, notch with the notch on the intake side. Now the engine's got got flipped upside down, so it's this is why the notch is on the other side now. So we just gently put it like that. Use the old bolts. So these got to be torqued normally with angle at the end, but the first level torque is 177 pound-inches, not feet, inches. So that's what we're going to do right now. For an extension. That's it. So now we unscrew it, and then we're gonna check what's the measurement with the plastic gauge. Removing the connecting rod cap, sorry, for the first piston. I'm going to check how it went with the plastic gauge. Okay, I found the specs. Well, I think I did. As usual, you better off finding your own thing. Seems to be 0.025 to 0.07. So 0.0, I got here 0.076, I mean in the millimeter. So that 0.05 is kind of right in the middle of the target. So I think it's pretty good. So that's clear that it's good to me. So now I need to clean this side of the plastic gauge with the brake cleaner, as well as inside the connecting rod cap. So I'm gonna clean both of those, and then I'm gonna oil this thing and assemble it with brand new bolts. On the rag, I'm gonna wash this thing here. This is clean. Let's just take out the and then the cap. Okay, this is pretty good. So now I'm gonna push down just a little the piston so I can have oil all around. Then we lift it up again. We can put some oil in the hole there. So the notch, square notch with the square notch, which is on the intake side. There's no groove on the old one, and it doesn't really matter because these grooves are hidden in the caps. So the threaded length is about the same. It's pretty much the same. There's about one thread less, I would say, if you put it like that. So I think it's really acceptable. So just a little just a little touch, not much. You gotta avoid when you do something like that to put some on the head. That's where you don't want to have oil. So the two bolts thread have a light touch of oil on them. Now it's time for the torque. .177. .177. So now we're gonna add each of those one at a turn. 2 times 70 degree. So I'm gonna start right away with the angle thing. I'm gonna set it up and show you how it's made. So line up this thing here with the line, the leverage here. So the black leverage is lined up with the inner line of the aluminum flange, from my point of view, of course. Maybe not with the camera. So now I need to set, need to put it back where it should be. Then set this thing to 0. That's pretty good. And now need to back it up 70 degree. And then we need to torque it so that this thing goes line up with the flange. So that's what I'm going to do now. There we go. That's pretty good. So now we need to set up the other one. This time I'm gonna line it up with this flange here, this line. So I'm gonna need to set this thing to 0. Then need to back it up 70 degree. So that's gonna be second level of torque. Okay, and then we need to do another 70 degree. Setting to 0. Then 70 degree, 70 degree. That's good, and then the final torque on the last one as well. Setting the 0. And then back 70 degrees. Done deal. So this cylinder is done. Just gonna rotate the engine, making sure that it works fine, that I'm not crushing the hose at the bottom. Once one turn of crankshaft is done, I know this one is good. Then wash, rinse and repeat for the rest of them.